Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today on Latakin's Nor Kitchen we're gonna make beef stew or vegetable beef stew or Claypot beef stew. That's right, I'm very excited to be sharing my version, which very well could be the best beef stew you've never had. And apparently this dish was brought to many regions by the Ottomans, where it's made its way to Cyprus and then Greece, and it's been my experience that any recipe that had many stops on its journey is almost an incredible thing to eat. And to get started, the first thing we need is a big hunk of beef, and what we do first is try and cut some 1/2 inch pieces, which is very easy. If my calculations are correct, we should have something pretty close to 1/2 inch cubes. But having said that, as long as your pieces are about the same size, it really doesn't matter if they're a little bigger or a little smaller than mine, since the most important thing is that they cook evenly. And if you have a bunch of big pieces and a bunch of little pieces, that won't happen. So here, if you have a couple solid pieces of fat, you can go ahead and trim those off. And then what we do once that cut up is head into the stove, where I have a very heavy duty pot set over medium heat, where I peeled and diced one onion and sauteed that in a small amount of vegetable oil. And once they're softened, we go ahead and brown our beef, since we want to get really nice dark crust on this. And I had to give times here, right? Maybe we sear this for 20 to 25 minutes, but we really want to go by eye, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. We want to get a nice dark deep brown sear. And then what we do, since our beef patches have been browned and cooked in their own juices, is toss in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Go ahead and give that a stir in, and we toast that to the bottom for about 2 minutes, which seems like a minor step, but it really does add a lot of flavor, whereas the celebrity chefs call it umami, which is that intense savoriness you get from some food. Toasted tomato paste, one of them. And then once we have improved the taste of our tomato paste, we go ahead and deglaze the bottom with some hot water, 2 cups. We go ahead and stir that in, making sure to scrape all that goodness off the bottom as we do. And at that point, we can take our heat to low, let it cook for half an hour, since we want to reduce the liquids by about half. And while we're waiting for that to happen, we go ahead to prep our vegetables. And of course, we're gonna need some potato, carrots, and eggplants, as well as some zucchini, red pepper, and green pepper. And we'll also have half a cup of peas, which I forgot to introduce, so it's waiting now in backstage. So what we do now is peel in 2 pieces of potato, then we simply make like a 1/2 inch slices or 1 inch. I like to cut that into big cubes like that, and they don't have to be perfect, by the way, which is good because they weren't. And that's it. Transfer them to a strainer so they're ready to be washed. And at that point, we have to peel and cut 2 pieces of eggplants, as well as 2 carrots, where they've been peeled and cut into circles or cubes or any shape you like. We still have our pepper and zucchini, where I used 2 pieces of each. So again, peel and cut. And by the way, they were washed before going into this process. And sure, if there are other vegetables you like to throw in your beef stew, like celery and things like that, feel free. I mean, you're after all the sugar night of making this beef stew, right? But anyway, among all of the vegetables, I want to fry eggplants, only the eggplants, before dumping that in the water. So you can go ahead and skip this step, which I don't recommend, because in my opinion, in this way, it's gonna be tastier. But anyway, that's up to you. You can go ahead and do it the way you like. And then once that's done and eggplants are fried, where our meat has been simmering for half an hour, we'll next start adding in our vegetables. And be careful, don't splash your camera. And we give this a stir. And we'll also, at this point, add a small pinch of salt and a small pinch of freshly ground black pepper. And then we need to cover the vegetables with water, so don't hesitate to add a little more water. And once our stew starts bubbling, cover it and reduce the heat to low. And cook that for 20 minutes, giving it the occasional stir. And after 20 minutes, our bashin looks something like this. And of course, we're gonna give this a taste, in case we have to add a little more salt, but mine was tasting exactly how I want it. And that's it, our beef stew is ready to boil. So let's go ahead and transfer that into our clay pot, and since we're fancy, we don't need the lid. We're gonna make our own lid, that's right. Let's go ahead to prep our dough. So for that, we need to add 1 cup of warm water in a big bowl, to which we're gonna add half bucket of yeast, as well as 1 tablespoon of sugar. Give that a stir, and at that point, add half a cup of flour, stir it, cover it, and let it rest for 15 minutes until that yeast start foaming up. And then we go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of yogurt, which I didn't film because the camera was not on. And I didn't pay attention because my children were walking around in the kitchen, helping mommy to concentrate. But anyway, let's add then 2 cups of flour, add more if you need. And once that's all in there, let's knead that for 10 minutes or whatever it takes to form very smooth, very elastic dough. And if everything goes according to plan, it should look something like this. And once that's set, we can move on and cut it for 2 halves, where I'm gonna take 1 half to cover the butt to make the lid, while the second half is going to be cut into 2 quarters. So with that we can make 2 loaves of bread. Now I'm going to take the half, and on a floured surface I'm going to bat it flat and roll that out to a medium layer, not too thin, and transfer it to the top of the butt. Try to press on the edges to be steady, then trim off the extra dough edges at that point. And in a small bowl, I'm gonna whisk 2 tablespoons of milk along with 1 egg yolks to brush on the top of the dough to get that nice gloss, you know. So anyway, let's go ahead to add a pinch of sesame as well as a little bit of black seed. And once that's done, we're gonna go ahead and pop that into a preheated 220-degree Celsius oven for about 15 minutes or until it looks brown, crispy, and gorgeous. What we really can do now, instead of waiting, is rolling those 2 loaves into not very thin, but at the same time not very thick layers. So once they're rolled the shape you want, we're gonna transfer these into a lined baking sheet, and then we're ready for the egg wash. Some beaten egg yolks with a little bit of milk as usual. I'm gonna bend it on generously. Our stew is out of the oven now, and we're gonna pop that bread in a 220-degree again oven. Then all what we can do now is waiting impatiently for the bread to be done. Now of course you're asking yourself this question: can I go and open the stew pot? And the answer is no. You have to wait for the stew to cool a little bit. We're gonna open it after 15 minutes or so. Now if you open it while it's piping hot, we are gonna lose a lot of moisture. So please let that cool down a little bit before you try to cut into it. Right there, my friends, I think it's the perfect bread. We have that gorgeous thin chewy crust. Now everything is done. And as you can see, you're either gonna serve it next to rice or you can eat it with bread. The choice is always yours. So with that, let's go ahead and with the help of a knife, I'm gonna open that amazing crust of bread and I'm gonna take a bite to make that taste, since that's how I enjoy eating my stews. You can finish it with a pinch of parsley, and that's it. My Claypot beef stew is ready to enjoy. So I grabbed a spoon, dug in alright. It's very delicious and comforting and satisfying to eat. Right, my favorite things about beef stew besides the beef is all that rich, delicious gravy in which to dip bread, as well as those perfectly tender, creamy texture potato that have slowly simmered in that fully flavored sauce. Alright, as you know, I'm a potato fanatic, and the potato in this is so good. It's just a simple, hearty, extremely tasty dish of food. Anyway, that's what we're calling Claypot beef stew is done, which I really do hope you give this a try soon. Thanks for watching. It's a restaurant quality recipe where you can easily make at home. And if you liked my video, please make sure to subscribe, like, follow and share so you can help me get more people to reach Latakians Nor Kitchen. See you later.